Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. 3 nervous volunteers sat in rigid plastic chairs, their eyes darting between each other and the closed door at the end of the hallway. The air was thick with anticipation and the faint scent of disinfectant. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," whispered the stocky man to my left, his fingers drumming an anxious rhythm on his knee. "What if something goes wrong?" "Come on, man," replied the lanky guy across from us, running a hand over his shiny scalp. "What's the worst that could happen? We get our hair back or we don't. Simple as that." I nodded in agreement, though my stomach churned with a mixture of excitement and dread. At 23, I'd already lost most of my hair, watching helplessly as it thinned and receded despite every treatment I'd tried. This experimental trial was my last hope, even if the potential side effects gave me pause. The door swung open with a soft click, and a researcher in a crisp white coat stepped out. "Gentlemen, we're ready to begin. Please follow me." As we filed into the sterile laboratory, I caught my reflection in a glass cabinet. My scalp gleamed under the harsh lighting, a stark reminder of why I was here. I took a deep breath, steeling my nerves. Whatever happened, it couldn't be worse than the crushing insecurity I felt every time I looked in the mirror. The next few hours passed in a blur of medical jargon, consent forms, and a battery of tests. Finally, we were each led to separate examination rooms. The researcher administering my treatment smiled reassuringly as she prepared a syringe filled with a pale blue liquid. "Now, Dominic, you may feel a slight burning sensation as the serum takes effect. This is completely normal. Are you ready to proceed?" I nodded, my throat too dry to speak. As the needle pierced my scalp, I squeezed my eyes shut and focused on the future I hoped this treatment would bring. Confidence, success, maybe even love. The burning started almost immediately, spreading across my scalp like liquid fire. I gritted my teeth, reminding myself that temporary discomfort was a small price to pay for a full head of hair. As the pain intensified, I felt myself slipping into darkness. When I came to, the room was spinning. I blinked rapidly, trying to focus on the concerned face of the researcher hovering over me. "How do you feel, Dominic?" "Dizzy?" I mumbled, struggling to sit up. "Did it work?" She handed me a mirror, her expression unreadable. With trembling hands, I raised it to my face and gasped. Where there had been only sparse, wispy strands before, a thick mop of chestnut hair now covered my scalp. I ran my fingers through it in disbelief, marveling at its softness. "It's incredible," I breathed, unable to tear my eyes away from my reflection. "I can't believe it actually worked." The researcher's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "We're pleased with the initial results, but we'll need you to come in for regular checkups to monitor any potential side effects. Remember, this is still an experimental treatment." I barely heard her, too entranced by my new appearance. For the first time in years, I felt attractive, confident, like the version of myself I'd always wanted to be. Over the next few weeks, I reveled in my newfound confidence. Colleagues complimented my new look, and I even mustered up the courage to ask out the cute barista at my local coffee shop. Life felt full of possibilities. But as the initial euphoria faded, I began to notice subtle changes. My body hair seemed to be thinning, and my skin felt softer, more delicate. I dismissed these observations, chalking them up to the placebo effect, or simply paying more attention to my body than usual. It wasn't until I met up with the other trial participants for our first group check-in that I realized something more significant was happening. The stocky man, who introduced himself as Chris, had lost a considerable amount of muscle mass. The lanky one, Ethan, complained of mood swings and hot flashes. "Have you guys noticed any changes?" I asked hesitantly, not wanting to admit my own experiences. Chris nodded vigorously. "Man, I thought I was going crazy. My chest feels tender, and I swear my hips are wider." Ethan leaned in, lowering his voice. "I've been having these thoughts, like really feminine thoughts. Yesterday, I caught myself eyeing a cute dress in a store window. What's happening to us?" Before I could respond, the lead researcher entered the room, her face a mask of professional concern. "Gentlemen, we've been monitoring your progress closely, and it seems the treatment has had some unexpected effects. We believe the hormonal component of the serum is more potent than initially anticipated." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications of her words sank in. I thought about the softness of my skin, the disappearance of my body hair, the subtle shifts in my body shape that I'd been trying to ignore. "Are you saying we're turning into women?" Chris's voice cracked on the last word, a mixture of disbelief and fear. The researcher held up her hands in a placating gesture. "Not exactly. The changes you're experiencing are a result of increased estrogen production and decreased testosterone. We're working to understand the full extent of these effects and develop a way to reverse them if necessary." "Reverse them?" Ethan exclaimed, running his fingers through his newly thick hair. "But what about our hair? I can't go back to being bald." I found myself nodding in agreement, surprising even myself. The thought of losing my hair again was somehow more terrifying than the other changes happening to my body. "We understand your concerns," the researcher said softly. "We're not asking you to discontinue the treatment at this time. We simply want to keep you informed and monitor the situation closely. If at any point you wish to stop, we'll respect that decision." As we left the facility that day, I caught sight of my reflection in a car window. My face looked softer, more delicate. For a moment, I imagined how I might look with longer hair, maybe a touch of makeup. The thought sent a thrill through me that I couldn't quite explain. Over the next few months, the changes became impossible to ignore. My body continued to feminize, curves developing where there had once been hard angles. Clothes that had fit perfectly now hung awkwardly on my frame. But every time I considered stopping the treatment, I'd run my fingers through my thick, lustrous hair and decide I could endure a little longer. Chris dropped out of the trial first. He couldn't reconcile the physical changes with his sense of self and chose to return to baldness rather than continue down this uncertain path. Ethan and I pressed on, drawn by some inexplicable force we couldn't quite name. It was Ethan who first verbalized what I'd been feeling but couldn't admit. We were having coffee, commiserating over our shared experience, when he suddenly blurted out, "I think I like being this way." I froze, my cup halfway to my lips. "What do you mean?" He leaned forward, eyes shining with a mixture of excitement and fear. "I mean, I've never felt more comfortable in my own skin. It's like I'm becoming the person I was always meant to be. Does that make sense?" As he spoke, something clicked into place within me. The comfort I felt in my changing body, the thrill of experimenting with more feminine styles, the way my thoughts and emotions seemed to flow more freely. It all pointed to a truth I'd been too afraid to acknowledge. "Yeah," I whispered, a weight lifting from my chest. "It makes perfect sense." From that moment on, everything shifted. Instead of fighting the changes, I embraced them. I started shopping in the women's section, delighting in the feel of soft fabrics against my skin. I experimented with makeup, marveling at how it enhanced my increasingly feminine features. The researchers were surprisingly supportive when we shared our feelings. They revealed that the trial was being redirected for use in male-to-female transgender patients due to its ability to induce feminine characteristics. Ethan and I were offered the chance to continue the treatment as part of this new direction, along with counseling and resources to help us navigate our transitions. It wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of mourning for the life I'd thought I'd have. Telling my family and friends was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. Some accepted me immediately, while others struggled to understand. I lost some relationships but gained new ones in the transgender community who understood exactly what I was going through. As the months turned into years, I settled into my new identity. I chose the name Cora, a name that felt like it had always been mine, just waiting to be discovered. My body continued to change, aligning more and more with how I felt inside. One sunny afternoon, I found myself back at the coffee shop where, what felt like a lifetime ago, I'd asked out the cute barista as my old self. As I waited in line, I caught the eye of a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. We struck up a conversation, and before I knew it, we'd been talking for hours. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow through the windows, she reached across the table and took my hand. "I've really enjoyed talking with you, Cora. Would you like to go out sometime?" I smiled, feeling a flutter of excitement in my chest. "I'd love to." As we left the coffee shop together, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. My long, chestnut hair framed a face that was undeniably feminine, undeniably me. I thought back to the scared, balding young man who'd walked into that research facility all those years ago, desperate for a change but never imagining the journey that lay ahead. The experimental hair growth trial had given me so much more than I'd ever dreamed possible. It had given me the courage to become my true self, to embrace a life filled with authenticity and joy. As I walked hand in hand with my date, I silently thanked that scared young man for taking a chance, for being open to possibility, for allowing me to become Cora. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, a beautiful backdrop to the beginning of this new chapter in my life. I squeezed my date's hand gently, feeling a sense of peace and rightness that I'd never known before. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I had the strength to face them as my authentic self. As we rounded the corner, laughing at a shared joke, I caught sight of a familiar face, Ethan, or rather, the woman he had become. She was window shopping, admiring a floral sundress with a wistful smile. Our eyes met, and a moment of understanding passed between us. We'd traveled this unexpected journey together, and though our paths had diverged, we would always share that unique bond. I raised my hand in a small wave, which she returned with a bright smile before continuing on her way. Turning back to my date, I felt a surge of gratitude for the twist of fate that had led me here, to this moment, this person, this life. "Everything okay?" my date asked, noticing my momentary distraction. I smiled, squeezing her hand once more. "Everything's perfect," I replied, and for the first time in my life, I truly meant it. As we continued our walk, I marveled at the journey that had brought me to this point. From a young man struggling with premature baldness to a confident woman embracing her true identity, every step, even the difficult ones, had been necessary. The experimental trial that had started as a quest for hair had given me so much more, the key to unlocking my authentic self. I thought about all the people who had supported me along the way, the researchers who had been understanding and adaptable, the friends who had stood by me through my transition, and the new connections I'd made in the LGBTQ+ community. Their love and acceptance had been a crucial part of my journey, helping me find the strength to live openly and honestly. As the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, I felt a sense of excitement for the future. There would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead, but I was no longer afraid to face them. I had found my truth, my voice, and my place in the world. My date and I rounded another corner, the street opening up to reveal a small park. The soft glow of street lamps illuminated a path winding through trees and flower beds. Without a word, we both veered towards it, drawn by the peaceful atmosphere. As we strolled along the path, our conversation flowed easily, touching on our hopes, dreams, and the twists and turns that had brought us to this moment. I found myself opening up about my journey, sharing parts of my story I had once kept closely guarded. To my relief and joy, she listened with empathy and genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions and offering words of support. As I spoke, I realized how far I'd come in accepting and loving myself. The fear and shame that had once clouded my thoughts had given way to pride and self-assurance. We paused by a small pond, its surface a mirror reflecting the star-studded sky above. In that moment of quiet reflection, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. I was exactly where I was meant to be, in a body that finally felt like home. standing beside someone who saw and appreciated me for who I truly was. As we turned to continue our walk, I caught sight of our reflection in the still water. Two women, hand in hand, embarking on what felt like the beginning of something beautiful. I smiled, thinking of all the possibilities that lay ahead, not just in this budding relationship, but in every aspect of my life. The experimental hair growth trial that had started this journey might have been unconventional, but it had led me to a life more authentic and fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. As Cora, I was finally free to be my true self, to love openly, and to embrace every moment with joy and gratitude. As we left the park and rejoined the bustling city streets, I felt a renewed sense of excitement for the future. Whatever challenges or adventures lay ahead, I was ready to face them, not as the person I once pretended to be, but as the woman I had always been meant to become. The gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Cora and her date meandered along the winding park path, their fingers intertwined, lost in conversation that flowed as naturally as the nearby stream. "You know, I never thought I'd find someone who truly understood me," Cora mused, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. "For so long, I felt like I was living behind a mask." Her date squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I'm glad you feel comfortable enough to share your story with me. It takes incredible strength to become who you truly are." As they rounded a bend, the path opened up to reveal a small, moonlit meadow. Without a word, they both veered off the trail, drawn to the ethereal beauty of the silvery grass swaying in the night breeze. Cora sank down onto the soft earth, tilting her head back to gaze at the star-studded sky. Her date settled beside her, their shoulders brushing. "Sometimes I still can't believe how much my life has changed," Cora said softly. "A few years ago, I was just a balding guy desperate for a solution. Now, look at me." She ran her fingers through her long, silky hair, a gesture that still filled her with wonder and gratitude. "You're beautiful," her date murmured, reaching out to tuck an errant strand behind Cora's ear. The gentle touch sent a shiver down Cora's spine. Their eyes met, and for a moment the world seemed to hold its breath. Slowly, they leaned towards each other, their lips meeting in a soft, tentative kiss. As they parted, Cora felt a warmth blossoming in her chest, a sense of rightness that she'd never experienced before. "I never thought I'd find this," Cora whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Acceptance, understanding, and now, maybe even love?" Her date smiled, cupping Cora's cheek gently. "You deserve all of it and more. Your journey, your bravery, it's all part of what makes you incredible." They lay back on the grass, fingers intertwined, watching the stars wheel overhead. Cora found herself recounting more of her story, the fear and uncertainty of those first changes, the moment of realization, the challenges of coming out to family and friends. "It wasn't all smooth sailing," she admitted. "I lost some people along the way. But the ones who stuck by me, who supported me through everything, they're the real treasures." Her date listened intently, offering words of support and asking thoughtful questions. As the night wore on, Cora felt the last of her walls crumbling. Here, under the vast expanse of the night sky, she felt truly seen and accepted for who she was. As a cool breeze swept across the meadow, they reluctantly decided it was time to head back. Walking hand in hand along the moonlit path, Cora felt a sense of excitement for the future that she'd never experienced before. "Thank you for tonight," she said softly as they approached the park entrance. "For listening, for understanding. It means more than you know." Her date smiled, squeezing her hand. "Thank you for trusting me with your story. I feel honored to know the real you." As they stood at the intersection, reluctant to part ways, Cora felt a surge of courage. "I'd really like to see you again," she said, her heart pounding. "I was hoping you'd say that," her date replied with a grin. They made plans for dinner later that week, exchanging numbers and lingering touches. As Cora watched her date disappear around the corner, she couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought her to this moment. From a desperate attempt to regrow hair to discovering her true self, every step had led her here, to a life filled with authenticity, joy, and the promise of love. She touched her long hair, remembering the scared, balding young man she'd once been. "Thank you," she whispered to that version of herself, for taking the chance that had changed everything. With a lightness in her step, Cora began the walk home. The city hummed around her, full of life and possibility. She felt, for the first time, truly excited for what the future might hold. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment, Cora's phone buzzed with a text. It was from her date. "Can't stop thinking about tonight. Sweet dreams, beautiful." Cora smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. She replied with a flirty message of her own before getting ready for bed. As she brushed out her long hair, still a source of daily joy, she caught her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was confident, radiant, and undeniably herself. Cora touched her reflection, marveling at how far she'd come. "Look at you," she whispered to herself. "You did it. You became who you were always meant to be." As she crawled into bed, Cora felt a sense of peace wash over her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she had the strength to face them. She was Cora now, authentic, loved, and finally truly happy. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Cora woke feeling refreshed and energized, the events of the previous night filling her with a warm glow. As she went about her morning routine, she found herself humming softly, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. At work, her colleagues noticed the extra spring in her step. "Someone's in a good mood," her friend Lydia commented as they grabbed coffee in the break room. Cora couldn't help but grin. "I had an amazing date last night," she confided. I think this could be the start of something really special." Lydia squeezed her arm affectionately. "I'm so happy for you, Cora. You deserve all the happiness in the world." As she settled into her tasks for the day, Cora found her mind wandering to the future. For so long, she'd been focused on her transition, on becoming comfortable in her own skin. Now, she felt ready to embrace all aspects of life: career, relationships, dreams she'd put on hold. During her lunch break, she received a text from Ethan, now Emma, asking if she wanted to meet up for coffee over the weekend. Cora readily agreed, looking forward to catching up with someone who understood her journey so intimately. As the week progressed, Cora's connection with her date deepened. They texted throughout the day, sharing jokes, swapping stories, and making plans for their next outing. With each interaction, Cora felt more certain that this was something worth pursuing. Friday evening found Cora standing in front of her closet, agonizing over what to wear for their dinner date. She finally settled on a flowing sundress that accentuated her curves and made her feel beautiful and confident. As she applied her makeup, still a source of joy and creative expression, Cora thought about how far she'd come. The scared young man who had walked into that research facility seemed like a distant memory. In his place stood a woman who was comfortable in her own skin, ready to embrace life with open arms. The restaurant her date had chosen was intimate and charming, with soft lighting and the gentle strains of jazz playing in the background. As Cora approached their table, her date stood, eyes widening in appreciation. "You look stunning," she breathed, leaning in to kiss Cora's cheek. Cora blushed, her heart fluttering. "So do you," she replied, taking in her date's elegant pantsuit and artfully tousled hair. As they settled into their seats, Cora felt a sense of excitement and nervous anticipation. This wasn't just another date. It felt like the beginning of something significant. Their conversation flowed easily, punctuated by shared laughter and lingering glances. As they worked their way through appetizers and main courses, Cora found herself opening up even more about her hopes and dreams for the future. "I've been thinking about going back to school," she confessed over dessert. Maybe pursuing that art degree I always wanted but was too afraid to try for. Her date's face lit up. That's wonderful, Cora. You should absolutely go for it. Life's too short not to chase our dreams. As they left the restaurant, hand in hand, Cora felt a surge of affection for this woman who encouraged her to reach for the stars. They strolled through the city streets, neither wanting the night to end. When they reached Cora's apartment building, they lingered on the stoop, reluctant to part ways. Her date cupped Cora's face gently, drawing her in for a kiss that left her breathless. I'm falling for you, Cora, she whispered as they parted. I hope that's okay. Cora's heart soared. More than okay, she replied, pulling her date in for another kiss. As she watched her date disappear into the night, Cora felt a sense of wonder wash over her. The experimental trial that had started as a desperate attempt to regrow hair had led her on an incredible journey of self-discovery and transformation. Now it had brought her to this moment, standing on the precipice of a new adventure filled with love and possibility. Cora climbed the stairs to her apartment, her mind whirling with dreams of the future. As she got ready for bed, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was radiant, confident, and undeniably happy. Look at you, she whispered to her reflection. You've come so far, and the best is yet to come. As she drifted off to sleep, Cora felt a profound sense of gratitude for the twists of fate that had led her here, for the strength she'd found within herself, and for the love and acceptance she'd found along the way. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she was ready to face them as her true, authentic self. The next morning, Cora woke to sunlight streaming through her curtains and the chirping of birds outside her window. As she stretched languidly, memories of the previous night brought a smile to her face. She reached for her phone, finding a sweet good morning text from her date. After replying with a flirty message of her own, Cora got up to start her day. She had plans to meet Emma for coffee, and she was looking forward to catching up with her friend and fellow traveler on this unexpected journey. The cafe was bustling when Cora arrived, the aroma of freshly ground coffee beans filling the air. She spotted Emma at a corner table, her newly long hair pulled back in a stylish ponytail. As their eyes met, both women broke into wide smiles. "Cora!" Emma exclaimed, standing to embrace her friend. "You look amazing. There's something different about you. You're practically glowing." Cora laughed as they sat down. "Is it that obvious? I've met someone, and I think it might be serious." As their coffees arrived, Cora filled Emma in on the details of her blossoming romance. Emma listened with rapt attention, her eyes shining with happiness for her friend. "I'm so thrilled for you," Emma said, reaching across the table to squeeze Cora's hand. "After everything we've been through, you deserve all the happiness in the world." They spent the next hour catching up, sharing the triumphs and challenges of their respective journeys. Emma had recently started a support group for other transgender individuals in their city, and she urged Cora to come to a meeting. "It's been so healing to connect with others who understand what we've been through," Emma explained. "And I think your story could really inspire people who are just starting their transitions." Cora nodded thoughtfully. "I'd like that. It's easy to forget sometimes how far we've come. Maybe sharing my experience could help someone else find the courage to be their true selves." As they parted ways, promising to meet again soon, Cora felt a renewed sense of purpose. Her own journey had been challenging at times, but it had led her to a life filled with authenticity and joy. If she could help others find that same peace and happiness, it would give even deeper meaning to her experiences. Over the next few weeks, Cora's life seemed to blossom in every direction. Her relationship deepened, filled with tender moments and shared dreams for the future. She attended her first support group meeting with Emma, finding strength and inspiration in the stories of others like her. Encouraged by her girlfriend and friends, Cora also took the plunge and applied to art school. The day she received her acceptance letter, she burst into happy tears, overwhelmed by the realization that she was finally pursuing a dream she'd held close to her heart for so long. As summer turned to fall, Cora found herself marveling at the beautiful tapestry her life had become. The experimental hair growth trial that had started it all seemed like a lifetime ago, yet she felt profound gratitude for the unexpected path it had set her on. One crisp autumn evening, as Cora and her girlfriend strolled hand in hand through a park ablaze with fall colors, they paused to watch the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. "I never imagined I could be this happy," Cora murmured, leaning her head on her girlfriend's shoulder. Her girlfriend turned, pulling Cora into a tender embrace. "You deserve every bit of this happiness, my love. Your strength, your courage, your beautiful heart, they inspire me every day." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.